Welcome everybody, hope you're doing well. Welcome back to another exciting review here on the channel. Today we're taking a look at the brand new AC44C6M for Norfolk Southern, number 4000. This is in the called out blue and gold main scheme, but lovingly called the Sonic Bonnet, in the ScaleTrains Rivet Counter line, LokSoundv5, DCC, and sound. Let's go ahead and get right into the review and unboxing. As always, do me a favor and subscribe if you enjoy the content, or if you find yourself coming back anyways. Really appreciate it. Helps me make a couple dollars, so thank you very much. Like the video if you enjoyed as well. Drop me a comment if you have any of these locomotives yourself, or if you have any questions, be happy to answer them as best I can. Let's go ahead and get started. We'll start with a quick overview of the box. Of course, you've been looking at the label side this whole time. You got the AC44C6M label on the front. Pretty standard ScaleTrains sides and other side of the box. Here's a quick look at the list of features as well as some details here. I know it's a little bit close, but just in case you're interested. This is also listed on the website as well. Taking off the top here, we have the product manual. Very nice new one here with the new label. Quickly show you the DCC and sound function chart, which we'll take a look at, of course, in just a few minutes, but just for reference in case you're interested. And also, inside we do have a technical note here about some changes on this run. So you can take a look at that here. Feel free to pause and just make sure. So a couple of the sounds do not match up exactly in the manual, but of course, we'll take a look at that in the demo as well. Nice foam there on the top. Standard blister packaging. Nice foam in the box as well. Just slide that off. We do have a little baggie here with some extra roller bearing caps. Soft plastic here on the top of the model as well. And sometimes these pesky truck immobilizers will come with it, so you can just pop those off like so. And I'll quickly get this handrail foam out of the way. It comes off fairly easy on my model because there's a little bit of bending in the handrails that aren't perfectly straight, but not too awful. And here we have our model. Go ahead and focus quick and give you a quick spin. So here is a quick 360 of the model before we go ahead and talk about all the details. I purchased this model in June of 2025 when these delivered from Lombard Hobbies. Had it on pre-order as well. My price was $335, which was a little bit of an increase due to tariffs. They were originally supposed to be $315, but just a heads up for you, that's factored into the price. But let's go ahead and take a look at all the amazing details. Starting off at the front of the locomotive here, a little bit of a side camera angle so you can see into the cab just a tad. See some of that control stand detail that otherwise there's a bit of a glare, so I hope you enjoy that. A little bit of history quick on this locomotive. Pretty much everything from the dynamic brake area forwards was rebuilt as part of the conversion process. This locomotive started its life as a -9-40C. So with the original Spartan cab, it was a top hat with the AC on the roof, and was converted over, as you can see, with the new GE safety cab. So the Norfolk Southern standard of relocating to a high headlight is present here. You can see that cutout where the headlight used to be. But on our model here, we do have LED lights throughout, so LED number boards and LED headlights up top. Some nice etched metal windshield wipers, as well as some more metal grabs on top of the nose there. More grabs running down the side here, a little bit tough to see, but nice blue paint on that. We have ditch lights in the front, which do alternate, appropriate for Norfolk Southern. The ScaleTrains scale metal coupler, pretty nice there with the MU hoses on both sides, with silver tipped ends on all of those. Couple additional grab irons here on the plow, painted completely yellow, and just to the side here you can see this little dash of yellow is actually the very top of the uncoupling lever on both sides. You can see it a little better on the opposite side here, where the loop is black and the very top is just yellow, so just a little bit of paint there, with of course the yellow handrails on the side. All the handrails are plastic on this model. Moving to the conductor side of the locomotive, the first thing I want to draw your attention to is sort of the first imperfection on this model. We do unfortunately have drooping pilots, which I've seen online as well as a fairly common occurrence in this run. So you can see pretty much all of these stairs are leaning just a bit to the left. My model isn't the worst that I've seen. It's also not the best I've seen. I've seen some that are perfectly all right, but just a heads up, that is an issue that is present once again on this run of locomotives. However, moving beyond that, the details and the printing are very, very nice on this locomotive. All of the lettering here around the cab is very crisp. We have the DC to AC sine waves on this locomotive, present on some of the black standard AC44C6Ms as a sine wave callout. On Norfolk Southern locomotives in real life, this little dot here is a light, which is not lit on this locomotive. The windows on the side are fairly darkened. You can't really see into the cab from the side, so I hope I was able to give you a decent shot from the front. But we do also have front and rear wind deflectors underneath the sunshade as well, so pretty good details here up at the front of the cab. We do have rotating bearing caps as well, so you can see this side has all three exposed. Unfortunately, my third axle here is just a little bit off center in the axle, so I don't know if you can quite pick it up. It's just a little thing I will have to fix. Didn't want to change it, though, for the purposes of this review yet. Zooming out just a little bit so you can get a better view of the bonnet detail. Once again, Sonic bonnet. Because of Sonic the Hedgehog, those kind of colors, I do think it looks really neat. Beyond the dynamic brake housing over here and the blower, just about this point right here where my pointer is and forwards is everything that was replaced as part of the rebuild process. One of the locomotives in this run, number 4047, has what they call the primer cab, where that entire section is left as it was delivered in just primer paint. So you can see, if you take a look at that locomotive online, you'll see everything that was rebuilt from the original core donor model into the new AC44C6M. And finishing off with the rear of the conductor side, we have the brake wheel separately applied detail, as well as a bunch of separately applied metal grates. You can see through into the speaker just up here. You can see through the rest of the grates, but there's a little bit of things, electronics, and the motor casing behind it, so not too much interesting in there. I want to briefly touch on the steps here in the rear. You can see there are 4 steps and then the top ledge, while in the front we have 5 steps. So that's a remnant left over from the original -9-40C that was not changed as part of the new additions into the C6M rebuild. Now on to the rear of the locomotive. Similar lighting package as the front with a high-mounted headlight, the ditch lights here with alternating flashing when the horn is blown, as well as a walkway light in the center, which I forgot to call out as part of the front of the locomotive as well. We do have the MU cables once again with silver-tipped ends, and a secondary coiled cable here for the air hose, which it looks pretty good. Metal coupler once again, some spare knuckle holders on the sides, as well as the cabling detail with a little chain in the center. Looks pretty good. Our chain in the center is plastic, no big deal there. Rest of the handrail is plastic as well, but it does make it sort of L-shaped that we'll take a look at the top. Another remnant from the -9-40C. And here is a quick pan through the engineer side of the locomotive, starting off at the rear. You can see we do have the air tanks, of course, on this side by the fuel gauges there, as well as another walkway light in the standard position right near this step down right here on the side of the locomotive. Here's a quick look back at the front. You can see we do have the 5 steps. Once again, a little bit of a drooping pilot, but we also have the builder's plate detail, which I'll go ahead and just zoom in real quick. I'll bring the locomotive up. You can take a look at that fine detail. Hopefully it comes up. You can see that GE logo, as well as some of the truck detail here as well. Here's a quick look at the roof of the locomotive. You can see that full PTC antenna array there, reminiscent of 2018 and onwards, although it's very similar to the original 2015 configuration when this was delivered. We have some warning labels across the roof here in various spots. Our horn and exhaust stack. You can see down into it, but there's nothing much to see in there. In the rear, we have the separately applied metal grills on the radiator section and a high-mounted sand filling port. Here's a quick look at the handrails as I was talking about on the end there, where it steps out at a right angle instead of being a gradual curve, kind of like the front. These steps, while there's different numbers between the front and back, are still all see-through, and all of the walkways are treaded. So as we go along here, you can see just a little bit of wave in my handrails on this side. Not awful, but just something to be aware of. It's a pretty standard problem with plastic handrails. Nothing too different on this model. Here's a quick look coming down at the front walkway as well. I flipped our locomotive over to the conductor side facing up so we can take a look at the underbody details. Unfortunately, up at the front here, one of my steps has been glued on a little bit at an angle, so might need some work to replace that one. Rust-colored wheels on all of the wheels in this locomotive, pretty much a standard from ScaleTrains at this point. Rotating bearing caps, my third one once again is doing its best to run away from the locomotive. Ground lights on both sides in this location here you can see mounted with our drain plug here for the toilet as well. You can see some of the brake line detail, and the bell is just aft of the fuel tank as well. While you can't see it on the model, one of the other differences, as called out on the cab, the DC to AC conversion of the traction motors was a big draw for the rebuild program into the C6Ms. However, we don't see those traction motor details on this locomotive as it's all internal, but that's all right for me. On our rear truck, you can see that not all of the axles are open, but the ones that are do have those rotating bearing caps. We have the chain detail running up underneath the jacking pad here as well, with some more conduit mounted on the underside of the body. Looks pretty nice here as well, just a different style of truck side frame for you. There's a quick look underneath the rear steps as well. You can see some more of that train line hose and airline hose detail as well. But that's all for the details on this model. Let's move on over to the test track so I can show you the DCC and sound functions. Welcome on over to the test track here. All I've done so far is program the locomotive from the default address of 3 to 4000 and turn off DC mode just in case. Here is a quick reminder of the DCC and sound function chart that we'll go through one by one in just a second here. There's a couple things that aren't quite right in the manual, and of course a reminder of the changes from ScaleTrains here. But let's go ahead and take a look. I'll go ahead and start up the locomotive, the prime mover with function 8. A note, this is not the correct sound file for the C6Ms. The correct file is located on ESU's website if you'd like to switch it out, but this is all default ScaleTrains sounds here. So here's function 8 for that startup. Function 0 is our directional headlight, and function 6 are our directional ditch lights. See those up front there? Function 1 is our bell. And what came on there was our air compressor, which will be on and off at idle and while the locomotive is moving. I may cut out future occurrences just to save some time. Just wanted to let that play here. I do really like the bell on this locomotive. Nice and slow, really nice fade. Here is function 2, which is our horn, which also flashes the ditch lights. I really like this horn file on this locomotive. I think the file itself sounds really good. The fade in and out, once again, and the quality of the horn is very crisp. There's no rattle at all that some ScaleTrains locomotives have. Speakers sound great. There's that air compressor, once again, going on and off. If I take a little too long here to talk about things, it'll interrupt me a little bit, but here is that plan, you can see. Function 3 is our first change. It's labeled as the coupler clink, but it is actually the brake wheel sound here, so go ahead and play that. and that is a set sound. If you press the button once and immediately let go, it will play the whole sound. Function 4 are the dynamic brakes. We'll take a look at when we're moving. Function 5, DPU lights. So for in forwards here, and I press that, the rear headlight will come on, and you'll see all the front lights come off. Same thing in reverse. If I was in reverse, just the front headlight would come on and the rear lights would come off. Function 6, once again, directional ditch lights. Function 7 is completely unused. Function 8s are startup and shutdown. We'll take a look at the shutdown at the end here. Function 9 is our drive hold, which will keep the locomotive at the same speed, and you can change the prime mover sounds with the throttle. Function 10 are the independent brakes, which have a sound when toggling off. Function 11 is our radiator fan. It does sometimes take a little bit to come on, but once it's on for a little while. Function 12 is our headlight dimmer, so if I press that, you'll see the ditch lights come off and the headlights dim. It'll be the same on the reverse direction as well. Function 13 is our air dryer in the manual, which doesn't have an actual sound file attached to it, it appears. Function 14 will turn off our number boards. You'll toggle that off to turn the number boards back on. 15 is labeled as the isolation switch, but is actually unused in the actual file. Function 16 is unused in the manual, but it is actually our air dryer on shutdown, which we'll hear when we do shut down the locomotive. 17 is our auto brake set and release, which doesn't have a sound tied to it. Function 18 is our sanding valve. That plays for a set amount of time. You can see the air compressor coming back on again here. Function 19 is our short air let-off. Function 20 will manually turn on that air compressor. And I can turn that off to cut it short. Function 21 is our handbrake, which almost sounds like another air let-off here. 22 is the cab door. Here's the opening. And the closing. .23 is our engine hood door. Here's the opening. And the closing. Function 24 is our reverser center, locks the throttle controls when it's on. Function 25 are the cooling shutters. Functions 26 and 27 is our manual notching up and down, and 28 is the logic for that. I did find I had to manually toggle on 28 in order to use 26 and 27. Most of the other ScaleTrains locomotives I have before didn't require that 28 to be on. But here is notching up, and then we'll notch all the way back down. And notching back down. and back to idle. Functions 29 through 31 I don't have on my throttle. That's the load simulation, automatic brake, and fade out sound respectively. But let's go ahead and get this guy moving. So I've quickly relocated to the side here. I'll go ahead and move us forward in one speed step. Although our air compressor came on at the same time there, it was a very nice air release. We are just a tad jerky at one speed step. Moving up to 2 though, that pretty much clears out and we're good to go from there. If I move up to around speed step 7, then we'll get a notch up. And I'll slow us down here. Nice brake applying sound as well. We do have that rear walkway light. If I go ahead and switch us into reverse, you'll see we have the Johnson bar as well as those rear ditch lights and headlight. They do look a little bit off color. They are pretty much spot on white in real life here. Once again, if I go ahead and switch now onto the DPU mode, both of those will come off and the front headlight will be on. Let's go ahead and bring us back in reverse at one speed step. I do really like that brake release. I don't believe ScaleTrains has done it on any of the other models I have so far. I think it's a really cool feature. If I go ahead and bring us up a little bit, I'll go ahead and bring us to 10 and then turn on our dynamic brakes. I'll toggle those off. They sound very nice. Take a second or so to come on as usual. Go ahead and flip us back to forwards. Let's go ahead and toggle off function 8 so you can hear the shutdown sequence. And those blowouts there is the air dryer on shutdown, which you can toggle off using the new function 16 command there. So it won't play that sound while it's resting here. This locomotive also has capacitors helping you over the dirty and imperfect track. So if I go ahead and take it off here, you can see the lights on the front and how long those will stay on. So you get a decent bit of extra juice. Let's go ahead and give you a quick run by here to finish off the demo section. I do hope you enjoyed that demo and quick run by. A couple other performance things to note. All of the wheels were engaged according to my wheel gauge, so good news there. And although the front pilot is drooping, the front coupler didn't seem to be low at all. I don't have a coupler gauge quite yet, but overall didn't seem to be too big of an issue right now. Others may have it worse. You may be lucky and the pilot might not be drooping at all. But for me, it doesn't seem to be too big of an issue besides the visual droop. Otherwise, once again, on price on this locomotive, $335, a little bit inflated due to tariffs and a general price increase here from ScaleTrains. This is the first time they've made this model, so a little bit of new tooling there. I know this is in extremely high demand overall as a model series, so I definitely recommend shopping around, trying to find one in stock, and then go for the best deal after that, because I know these will sell out fairly quickly. There are a few other of the main series with black mains and either red or blue trim, where the yellow is on this locomotive. And then, like we talked about, the primer cab, as well as 2 versions of the full standard black Norfolk Southern repaint. So there's a few different versions that go around. I know a lot of people have bought one of each, so they're definitely worth checking out, and I definitely recommend them. Like I mentioned briefly in the demo, the bell and horn sound itself just sounds amazing to me. The way the fade in and out and the overall sound is very full and rich, and I was honestly blown away by it. It is not something I've experienced on a locomotive before. There's been really good ones. Rapido's got some good ones. Other ScaleTrains models have some good ones, but this is by far the best for me, just in the way that the horn and bell sound. The rest of the sounds are pretty good as well. No issues with that. Just a couple little programming changes compared to the manual that ScaleTrains switched up. Not too worried about that. Just a heads up for you if you're looking to get the accurate sound and functions for your locomotive. But overall, once again, would definitely recommend it if you have a chance to pick one up. I was able to just barely make it into the budget. I don't have a ton of Norfolk Southern units or rolling stock. I have a couple of the Heritage units as well, the ES44s. But I've wanted this locomotive for a while, ever since it came out in 2015. So it's really cool to see it make it into model form, and I was able to grab one. Other than that, good pulling power, weighs in at about 1 pound 7 ounces from what I've seen. So it should be able to hold up to anything there. Minimum radius is 18 inches. I've been running on the recommended of 22 inches with no issues, so you should be pretty fine with this locomotive on nearly all layouts as well. But I will go ahead and end off this review here. Thank you very much for watching, and if you did make it this far, consider subscribing. Really appreciate it. Once again, helps me make a couple dollars, so thank you very much. Like the video if you enjoyed as well, or just want to help out the algorithm, and drop me a comment, of course, if you have any questions, or if you grab some of these yourself. Let me know. We'd love to hear how yours have been treating you. But thanks again, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.